Welcome back to Junction 119. This is Kellan.
This is Casen.
And Casen was literally in the middle of telling me about this different looking background he has. You were saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can probably tell through the video, but it's an effect from the still image. And essentially what this is it's my bookshelf that's next to me down here.
Yeah.
So, I just trying to I we moved some stuff with moved locations here. And so I don't quite have the background I used to. I had that on the last video. I had this a still shot of of my old
Yeah.
background because this wasn't totally done yet. And so now it's just kind of done. And so I have a still of that just because it's something different, change up a bit.
Absolutely.
And I can kind of walk through it. This is gonna be really hard to sort of move around the photo, but here, just these are just a bunch of bobbleheads that got for free from Bowling Green sporting events.
Yeah.
Um, here's a Scrabble tile down here. This is BG Falcons, and
Hmm.
then there, here, Eddie George draft card.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Is
I
that is
have
that
that.
new or what?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
sweet. Wow.
ironically, we were going through some stuff,
Cool.
and we found it. So it is an Eddie George, uh, Oilers
That's an
draft
incredibly
card.
that's like an
Yeah,
that's like a good omen. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a good
I
sign.
we found it like it was like 2 weeks after he was hired. It was crazy.
That's incredible. So, and on the other side, you got a throwback Browns mini helmet.
Yeah, I'm this is so hard to figure out which way to go.
You're
There we
good.
go. Okay. So yeah, here is a throwback Browns helmet with the numbers.
Hmm.
This it's a little hard to see it, but this is uh like uh, a ticket for the Ohio State Notre Dame championship game.
Cool.
It's like an acrylic ticket.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then here's a bunch of Starbucks mugs for Star Wars. So we've got uh
The Mandalorian up top.
Navarro for Mando, Tatooine, Jakku, Coruscant, and then behind the helmet you can't see is Naboo, which is really
Ooh,
cool. And
okay.
there's a huge picture of Darth Maul on it.
Very cool. I
Uh,
like it.
so there's that. And then you really can't see what's down. This is really hard to figure out.
Don't even worry about it. Don't worry
I
about
don't
it.
think, but anyway, down here, I don't, where is this? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Down here behind me, is all my hockey stuff. So I've got my Stanley Cup down there and all that stuff.
Cool, cool.
So
Shout
you can
out.
kind of see, I also have, which was a requirement right there behind me.
Hey, there you go. It's Iceberg. Comfortably tucked behind your left shoulder there.
Yeah.
It is Superman Day. It's not going to be the day that you hear this, but we are recording this on Superman Day. Why? Because Superman debuted on April 18th, 1938 or whatever it was. We got a good show today. Today's show is really going to be more like a preset short six pack. Honestly, it's literally
Yeah,
six things
I
on the
thought about that
docket.
too. Yeah, it's kind of throwback to the six packs with just a bunch of stories.
Yeah, shout out the six packs. We will do them again in the future. But it's really just a bunch of stories that Case and I were wanting to kind of talk to each other. And of course, we'll wrap it up by talking about Daredevil Born Again season one finale. But we begin acknowledging a tradition like no other in that Rory McIlroy completed the Grand Slam this past weekend, winning the Masters. You get to watch a decent amount of it, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, I was able to watch the last couple holes. I was here and there. I watched on Sunday, and then uh, the last couple holes for sure, and then the playoff hole.
That was like one of the best. No exaggeration, one of the best golf Sundays in golf history. I mean, that was awesome. Just the way, just the significance of the moment, the fact that it would have been historic even if Justin Rose won the playoff because he would have been the oldest first time winner ever. Shout out
Mhm.
Justin Rose, he played an incredible round. As did Rory. I will say it is a little weird how the media has seemingly like pit like Bryson DeChambeau and Rory against each other. Um, However, that has a little bit been done by Bryson as well. So, yeah, it's a storyline what it is. But I was really happy to see Rory win. He's been one of my mom's anyway favorite golfers for a long time,
Mhm.
and I like him
Mhm.
too. He's not a silver spoon in mouth. He comes from a working class family in Northern Ireland, and he has battled, man. He has absolutely battled. So,
Yeah, I mean it's definitely crazy because he's been famous in Northern Ireland for his entire life. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he went viral as a kid. He was on like TV shows and stuff as a kid.
yep.
And so he was essentially like the Irish Tiger Woods for that country. And
Which is a
and it's
tremendous amount of pressure, by the
right.
way,
Well, exactly. And that's
for
the
a whole
thing
country. Yeah,
and then so he storms out on the scene in like 2011, 2012. I don't remember when exactly he debuted, but he stormed into the pro tour, and immediately he was living up to what he was hyped to be. I
100%.
mean, he came out of the gate, won three out of the four majors within the first couple of years, and then
Had a
I mean
reputation for choking at
yeah, I mean,
Augusta, legitimately. Yeah,
and then it just kind of got to be the point where it was he could never win the last one.
yeah.
And then forever he hasn't been able to win anything. And he's talked about it this week since of it. It definitely I think got to the point probably by 2017, 18, I that it was like a I can't win any like it was a I can't win anything type of burden on his shoulders. And
Went into a
I
real serious slump,
yeah, and so I'm real happy for him because he hopefully finally winning the one thing that he like had to win. uh
And like
uh
you could see the burden almost lift off his shoulders.
yeah,
Like the way he
exactly.
collapsed
Yeah,
to the ground and everything. I mean, it's enough to bring a tear to your eye. I mean, it did for me. I was thinking to myself, this is the honestly, I had a friend of the show, James, say, and I'll say on the show, this is what Through Hell and Back looks like. And I was
yeah,
like, that's a really good way to put it, honestly, because this is what
yeah.
it looks like. And it
I
really, it felt, it felt like a moment in time. You know what I mean? It really did. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say hopefully not having this looming over him
Yeah.
will let him sort of actually, win some other majors and stuff, and maybe he can go on a bit of a run here.
Yeah. And
Um,
it also, I remember I was going to say, you could tell it took everything he had,
yeah,
nothing left in the tank to win that thing, which let's be real, that's probably top three hardest things to do in sports is win the Masters. So, I mean, it's up there. It's up there. I don't want to
yeah.
stack sports against each other, but it's at least top
I
five.
mean, it's one of those things. I mean, and Rory's not the only guy who plays well most other places, and then every year gets to Augusta and he's just seeing ghosts out there. He's not the only guy. It's just that's a thing that's been hanging over him because this was the one achievement that narratively he had to do to live up to the hype, I guess you could say. I
And we
mean,
sat here last week and talked about how there's an aura about it. It's the same place every year.
yeah.
And it's one of those things where after a while, I imagine it's a little bit of a sports psychology learned helplessness type thing where am I just not able to play at Augusta? Is it the one course that I'm just not good on? You
And
know what I
I mean
mean?
it's so random
Yeah.
sometimes, which is why you see dudes win like their only major ever at Augusta because they
Yeah.
randomly have like the craziest round on Sunday. I mean because like you think about some of the guys like there have been some random guys that
Yeah,
win
go look at
that
the Masters winners from the last 25 years. I mean,
yeah.
like since Tiger's like dynasty at the turn of the century, go look at who's won the Masters because it's a little bit like, oh
It's
yeah,
been
that guy. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and you have really good golfers like
Yeah,
you have really good golfers come out and just play absolute like trash. I
yeah.
mean and so it is what it is. I mean Augusta's a really hard course. Everybody knows that, and so winning a weekend there is really hard. It's really
As
hard.
my mom said, it is as brutal as it is beautiful. I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't
100%,
know if a
100%.
phrase describes Augusta more perfectly. But shout out to Rory McIlroy. That was the first thing on the list here. Just starting with a bit of a positive. Before we get into a handful of college football stories, that this is one that kind of erupted over the course of this past week. It's kind of done now, but I feel like I was like, Case and I have to talk about this. So I'm going to butcher his last name probably, but the former Tennessee quarterback at the
Nico.
University of Tennessee, I should say, Nico Aliva, um,
Uh,
Ima
I
Aliava, I believe is how you say it. I
I
don't hold me to that, but I believe is how you
yeah.
say it.
or as Twitter would call him, I'm a Leva. Um,
Had essentially what was a holdout contract dispute, whatever you want to hear, kind of the first guy through the wall publicly situation of you up my NIL money or I'm not playing for your school. And essentially, Tennessee called his bluff and said, okay, like,
yeah.
goodbye then.
Well, there's a lot more to the story
There
too,
is.
because at least like narratively. So he apparently said this to them in December before their playoff game, in which he played like garbage. But before their playoff game in December, he said, "Give me more money or I'm leaving." And then they were like, "No." And then he said, "Okay, you know what? Never mind, whatever, I'll stay." And so now he comes out and says, "Actually, yes, I am leaving,"
Mhm.
after all these other portal quarterbacks already went other places. So they could have had an opportunity to get other people in there to replace him if he had left in December like he originally planned to. And then he randomly, I guess, decided not to at the time, but then only to leave later just puts them in a harder spot. So I can understand Tennessee being very, very angry and frustrated with this, which is why essentially as soon as he said it, I Josh Heupel was like, "Okay, we're done. Like we're not being held hostage by you." Like,
Well, I really do think this was a situation where maybe he was initially cool with it, and then some folks got into his ear, whether it was his or his family's ear or something. Someone
yeah,
influenced him to do this, and I really think it. Honestly, I think sort of like how when we see NFL quarterbacks uh, try to one up each other and get those big deals, I really think something like that might have happened. He saw like what Carson Beck and maybe some other guys were going to get, and said, my university also has that amount of NIL money. Why am I not asking for more? Instead of probably would have been content to just stay at Tennessee and not transfer and make what he was making. I
yeah,
don't think he anticipated the lack of. I think he thought he was a much bigger fish in a pond than he is, and I also don't think he earned any good graces by being a college quarterback and trying to pull this. Um,
no, no, I
I am happy, I will say, that because since we've been talking in this since our last show, he has now committed and is going to UCLA, who apparently he's from the West Coast originally, and so it's kind of like him going back home. They recruited him initially. He's now there. I haven't looked into what the actual NIL money he'll be making is, but so many teams were out pretty quickly on the sweepstakes because they wouldn't budge from their number, and I'm like, surely this cannot become the new normal. And I kind of like how a lot of the schools kind of collectively seemingly were kind of that way. I'm actually pretty happy that Tennessee was like, absolutely not.
yeah,
Because
no, I mean, and because
this needs to be taken care of now.
that would have set a pretty bad precedent. And UCLA, I mean, they're desperate, like they needed to do something to have some flashy move, but I will say his agent, manager, whatever, is his dad, and it's widely known in the like college football community that that's a pretty bad situation.
Well, and
That
it's
it's like
also,
it's another in a long line of like parents not having any idea how this industry works.
well, or how the industry works, or maybe they were always a helicopter parent type person, and it's like
Mhm.
you. I don't want to dig too deep here because I don't know the situation, but we've all seen situations where maybe the parent has a little bit more too much influence, and the child in this case does not have as much say. That's one of the other things about mixing family and business that you got to watch out for, just in general, not even just this situation, but in life. It's like, yeah, but it also helps if you have a legitimate agent that's not related to you, so that business and family are separated because the lines can become very blurred. Um,
Yeah.
so listen. It seemingly is that this had a relatively happy ending. Hey, he found another school and at another Power Four location relatively quickly. I figured he would, um, but at the same time,
It felt like he hit the portal to go to UCLA. Like it felt like
yeah,
he knew he was going to UCLA.
absolutely. Yeah, it definitely feels that way, and it happened so fast that it's like, oh, okay. So ultimately,
I I
it's
will
a story to
say
keep your eye on.
I will say too, I don't know the specifics on what exactly the amount of money is, but I did see that someone pointed out that he's probably making less than he was at Tennessee based on California taxes.
Right. I mean, taking home less based on
So
it. Yeah.
so I ironically that's a very funny anecdote about
Mhm.
that is if he got what he was wanted, he'd be paying like I don't even know if he's making that much more, if anything more.
It's interesting, man. But this is something to keep your eye on, and this is not a story that would have even been popped on our radar even a few years ago. So now it's like, well, I feel like we definitely have to discuss it. Well, from one college quarterback to another college quarterback, I put this next story because I'm really
Yeah.
curious to hear
I
what you have to say.
1 second too before we move on. I do just want to
Yeah.
make a point. This is a signal to NFL GMs who would want to draft him in the future too.
Mm.
Like holding out in college before you're even drafted is wild to do, knowing that any GM you interview with at the combine is going to ask you about it.
It's
Like
true.
like any NFL team you interview with is going to immediately lead off with, so you held out at Tennessee and then left. How
My
am I? Why am I supposed to trust that you want to be here and are going to play for me?
my apologies, as I thought you were done with your thoughts on the matter. That makes me think that not only is that the case, but it's almost now something he has to live down. Like he better go to UCLA
Right.
and ball out because if he kind of falls off the radar, it's going to be like, well,
He also didn't have as good of a season this year to demand more money.
right. And
Like,
it's
I
just
mean,
I don't
for
know.
the amount of hype he had coming into
I
as a
mean,
recruit, he did not live up to that
I don't want this
or
to
earn more
sound too
money.
harsh when I say this, but I did have a little when this first popped on my radar earlier this week, I did have a little bit of the who exactly does he think he is? You know what I mean? Like does he like does he is he being told that that he has a lot more like suitors than he has? I don't know. Clearly something like that is going on. Hey, it's cool being confident, but again, dude, you are a college quarterback. Hey,
My guess, I mean, this is technically not legal, but my guess is that UCLA told his dad, we'll give you X amount of million," and he said, "Okay, Tennessee match this or I'm gone," and they didn't, so
well,
he left. Like
could yeah,
that's my guess, which
that could happen.
I mean, whatever, but that's all the more reason as to why there needs to be some kind of contracts and some kind of governing body over this stuff because like we need to find a way to manage this.
At least
Like
NIL.
it is the Wild West, and all of this is just untenable.
And I got to say I don't know what reining it in looks like because I really feel like this is almost going to have to be self-policed by the schools, and yet I don't blame any richer school for using that to get a guy to get someone. You know what I
If
mean?
the
I don't blame
NCAA
it. I don't blame
doesn't
anyone.
want to do it, then I don't know who can. But there has to be some kind of way to where you're saying we're giving you X amount of money and you are staying here for X amount of years.
Mm.
This is the contract. You cannot leave.
Yeah, and I don't
I
think it's going to come from the conferences
uh,
either because I don't think you're going to have conference
along with just
members.
structural things of like
Yeah,
structurally there should be one transfer window,
I
one,
agree.
and that's it.
I
You
agree
either
with
hit it
that.
or you don't.
I agree with
And if
that.
you don't, you have to wait till next year. Like that's it. Like
Correct.
having a window in December and then again like after there's too much. It's too much. It's too
There is a
much.
2 month for European soccer leagues. There is a 2 month period in the summer, and there is a January transfer window. Everyone is aware that those are the two transfer windows. So I do think something like that is in our future because I think that's something that every school, coach, athlete is going to be 100%
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Like, okay, give me a set time. It can even be by sport. Like, it would have to be anyway. But like, it can be
Mhm.
by sport. But like, make it so that okay, there is a window, and we are setting it, and we are setting it for this period of time, and it will be this for everyone. Make your decisions, go, and leave it. And also, just gonna throw it out there again, don't make it in the tournament. Okay, make it after the tournament ends.
No, yeah,
Like
for college football it should be February 1st.
correct. And
February
for
1st.
college basketball,
Yeah.
it should be like I don't know, 2 days ago.
Yeah,
April, like in middle of
it
April. I don't know.
a week to a week and a half after the title, or
Correct.
week to 2 weeks after the championship game of that sport is like a perfect time because there's like a cooling off period, so you don't like immediately hit the portal after you lose a title game or whatever. And so
Correct.
there's a 2 week wait period, and then you can go. Like that to me makes sense, and I don't know who would be against it.
Yeah. Hard, hard to say. Who's to say? But are we good to move on?
Yeah,
Just keeping us on the task here. Colorado is by the time you hear this, it'll actually be Saturday, and I think it's like today slash it's on
yeah, I
Saturday.
think so.
Is their spring game where they are retiring a pair of jersey numbers. Casen, do you know who they are for? Why don't you tell us?
Unfortunately,
Tell us who they
they
are.
they are retiring numbers 2 and 12 for Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders, who collectively won like nothing in their time at Colorado. Um,
Okay, Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Okay,
I asterisk, but okay.
what do you mean asterisk? That's blasphemous. What do you mean?
I don't think he deserved it. I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum at the time, but
We
like
did.
being average to mid at two positions doesn't earn you the Heisman. Like playing a whole game, like with the Heisman for endurance,
Well,
like
that does make me. I don't want to bring too many stories into this one story. First of all, I agree that it seemingly is being done for the optics of it. The athletic director claims that Dion has had no say in this, which is true. He wouldn't have a say. The university would have to make this decision. But I do think it is definitely like a thank you, Deion Sanders kind of thing. It comes off that way, especially with the Shador thing. But I can see it from a sense of he completely changed the culture of that program in a way that they'd really never had before. But it's not like they weren't good, good before. They won a national championship, and no one from that team's numbers retired, I guess. Cordell Stewart's numbers not retired. Like, it's just like there's got
I
to be a
know a
level of
lot of
tone deafness
yeah.
there, a little bit. You know what I mean?
I know a lot of people associated with the program. Joel Klatt, one of them, is very annoyed with this. Like he talked to the athletic director and was like, I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
I would say the thing where I draw the line is Shadur
Yeah.
because it's like whatever. If you want to retire Travis and cite he won the Heisman, people do that. Ohio State
But
retires their Heisman
but
winners. Like
maybe do
it's
it
a
like
thing.
2 years from now, 2 3 years from
I
now.
mean, yeah,
Do it at
doing
the spring game
both
on
of
his
them,
way
yeah,
out before the
yeah.
NFL draft even is just weird to me.
It to me, I don't know
Also,
if
you're
I
doing it at a spring game. That's weird to me.
it's dumb.
It's just weird. Like
It's a marketing thing to get
like
people in
like
there.
even if
Yeah.
these were two completely and utterly deserving people, I would be the one in the room saying, "Why would you do it at the spring game? Why wouldn't you want to do it and invite him, family, whoever back for a huge game in the fall? Like, why wouldn't we do it like at halftime when we're playing
Yeah.
Colorado State or something? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just
It
weird to
might
me.
be hard to get them back depending on where they
That's
go and
true.
their
That is
schedules,
true.
but
That is true.
um
Yet everyone else manages to do it. So I don't know.
I mean, well,
It
the
did take
both of them though is what I'm saying,
it
but
took
because it's
Troy
yeah.
Smith years before he was back at Ohio State, and they just
Yeah.
didn't give number 10 out. So I
Yeah.
remember that. But I think we are in agreement on this. It just something we had to talk about, just because.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I believe that Dion had nothing to do with it. I mean, it because to me, Shadur getting his number retired feels like they decided they were retiring Travis's number when he won the Heisman, and then some conversations came around to also retiring Shadur
Right. But
to
you have to understand.
maybe bump his draft stock the week before the
I
draft.
I I get it. There's like 4 to 5 levels of administration that would all have to sign off and say yes to this. Like it would have had to be openly
Yes,
discussed and signed off on the round
they
table on this.
all
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
this will help with our brand and publicity.
Hey,
It's a decision that they made
correct.
based on the decision that they made to bring Dion there.
Correct.
Like it feels like the University of Colorado made the decision to bring in Dion, and everything they've done since that has been to make him want to stay and appease him and keep him happy and let him basically run the entire show.
Which is 1,000% understandable.
Yeah,
Every single move.
sure.
So
But
yeah,
to me, I mean, show it on the field. Like, I
Yeah, I got
mean,
you.
they were technically ranked, but like that
Listen,
wasn't a good team.
I'm not by any means a Colorado. We're not haters or anything like that. Just making an observation. If you're a Colorado fan, you come across it. Hey, hope it's a good time. Hope it's a good time at the spring game. Is what it is. I will say it is going to be interesting to see what happens with Travis Hunter because he's already kind of been making headlines saying that he wants to play both sides of the ball. And I heard someone say this week, I don't think Travis Hunter realizes how hard it is to play in the NFL. Like,
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
kidding me? Like, I mean, power to you. I can see you doing some special teams things, but if that guy actually becomes like a both sides of the ball starter in the NFL, well, then awesome. That's great. I don't think that's going to happen. So,
He's just not a good enough receiver. Like,
correct.
I
I mean,
mean,
I get it.
he can kind like sure he can be average against terrible Big 12 defenses, but like his route running and receiving ability against actual NFL defenses is just not going to be there.
He's going to learn very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like every rookie, literally every rookie says the same thing. Like we were doing full pads practice, like for the first day we were doing full contact, and I couldn't believe how fast everybody was. I'm like, yeah, it's it's the NFL. Like, yeah. So, stick a pin in that. We'll see what's going on. Ready to move on?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, last college football oriented story here before we get into a few pop culture things, items, whatever. The great Lee Corso this week announced that he is retiring after 38 years behind the desk for the famed College Game Day, ESPN's pregame show. And I would go as far as to say the best show in the history of ESPN. It's the best show they have. I mean, period. And it's classic. It's awesome, and it's perfect for all ages fans. You don't really have to be like that big of a fan to even enjoy it. You know what I mean? Uh, and the guy who was synonymous with it literally from the very beginning, one of the three, was Lee Corso. And I got to say, I was happy to see that this week. I was happy to see, okay, he's formally going to retire, hang it up. He announced it in spring. It's been almost 40 years. But I also was like, wow, it's been 38 years. I'm 31. You know what I mean? So it just kind of was surreal to think. I was like, wow. So, like, 8 years before me, even, 8 to 7 years before me. So, thoughts on it, Case? And I have some that I'll share, but I just want to hear your reaction to it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, really entertaining personality on the desk and uh I mean there's been a lot of conversations surrounding him still being on the show as long as he has been uh especially because there have been some difficult moments to watch.
Well, yeah, and
Uh
he had a
yeah.
stroke and everything, which he's been very open about. You know what I mean? Um, my thoughts on it are I'm glad it's happening now. I almost wish it would have happened 3 years ago because I really, really, really don't like that there's a whole generation of college football fans now that only like know him as like the old guy on College Game Day because you all have no idea how much the sport of college football owes Coach Lee Corso because people forget that when that College Game Day first started, it wasn't like as big a deal, nor really was college football necessarily to the extent even it is now. And people forget like Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit still did Thursday night games. You know what I mean? So like that was the beginning of their weekend, and then they did game day and all that stuff. And yeah, like those like mid to late '90s into the turn of the century kind of stuff. All those antics you see Pat McAfee doing now, that was Lee Corso then. I mean,
Mhm.
go look at some old Lee clips and not just the ones of him putting the headgear on. We've all seen those. I mean, if you're young enough, too young to remember, like in his prime Lee Corso on that show, please do yourself a favor and go watch it and have a great time. Because, I mean, in terms of like personality, his sheer knowledge of the sport of football, I mean, yeah. And, he was right like 70% of the time in his picks across like all those episodes. So I love Lee Corso, man. Just wanted to say that because I feel like I saw some people clowning on him this week, which is what the internet does. But I'm like, if y'all are really going to clown it, y'all don't remember Lee Corso. You don't know Coach. You know what I mean? You clearly don't
Hmm.
know Coach Corso in his prime. So his last show is going to be Texas and Ohio State, right?
I don't know if they said that that's where they're
It's the
going, but
first. Oh,
I'm
that's a
sure
good point.
that
Week
I
one. Week one.
I I'm sure that's where they're going. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, his last episode is the first is week one, but I don't think it's officially announced. But I mean, I'm sure that's where they're going.
Yeah, right. I mean, it could be somewhere else, but if it's up to lead, like,
I mean, reigning champs hosting Texas. Yeah, yeah,
his first pick was Brutus the Buckeye. His last
yeah,
one could be Brutus too. What if it's just hook 'em horns? That would be
yeah. If his last one is picking Texas in Columbus, that's insane.
that's
That's
insane.
insane.
And I would be sitting there saying, I love this man so much. Oh my gosh. I'm like, Lee Corso, you are my absolute hero. I can definitely see him just like holding it above his head and then like throwing it and doing it. It'll be something cool. It'll be something cool. But it's gonna be emotional too. That's gonna be an emotional show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the relationship between Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit, so good. And it's just it's gonna be a tearjerker for sure. I really think it really is.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's gonna be a ride off into the sunset moment for Lee Corso. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so switching gears now, we time stamp our show. Before we get into Daredevil Born Again, we got a pair of trailers from Marvel this week as they build the hype for the Thunderbolts. We did get the final Thunderbolts trailer, which I think we also
Hmm.
should address in addition to the Fantastic Four main trailer that dropped this
Yeah.
week. I'll let you start with whatever one you want. Maybe we should
There.
start with the Thunderbolts one.
We'll tack something else on the end after this too that was announced
Okay.
last night. We'll get to that too.
Okay.
But yeah, the Thunderbolts. Yeah. I mean there was also the footage that came out too of Florence like jumping off that building,
Yeah.
which she did. Like she was like, I want to do this. And they were
Yeah.
like, meanwhile, everybody in the insurance department was like, I don't know about that.
Well, she went like kind of full Tom Cruise with it. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, she really like did that? Wow, that's awesome. Uh, Shout out to Florence Pugh. She's awesome. Uh, Very, very cool. I think she's really going to be a lot of the heart and soul of this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I really believe this is going to be an ensemble cast, but I really believe that in terms of a character arc, this is going to be her film, and that's what this last trailer, this launch
Hmm.
trailer, essentially made me think. I'm like, she's going to be the catalyst, and the line that gets me is when Alexi's like, we all have things that we're not proud of, and she's like, but I have so many, and I just think that in a lot of ways, this is a Marvel movie that I never really thought that they would do. It's sort of like their Suicide Squad to some degree, but
Yeah.
all of these people, it's just very cool that we're gonna get a redemption story, which is something we can all get behind.
I will
Love a
say
comic relief
too,
Marvel characters.
I mean, definitely if you haven't watched Black Widow,
Oh
I think
yeah,
if you definitely,
yeah. This is
I
one that
mean,
you're gonna have to have seen that.
you can, I mean, you can say whatever you want about like the last third of that movie, whatever. But I mean,
You kind
to
of also have
me,
to have seen Hawkeye, honestly.
that is true. That is true.
Really, if we're being real here.
Yeah. Well,
But no, you
trust
got
me,
watch Black Widow.
anybody
Yeah,
actually going to see Thunderbolts has seen everything. So
yeah, or mostly everything, right?
um, so I do think that yeah, I mean you have to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier too. That you're gonna have to see that. But anyway, um, to me the narrative of just like Yelena still dealing with losing Natalia is just it's
Natasha, yeah.
sorry Natasha,
No,
right?
no, it's all good.
Yeah. It's tough because like you can see these moments that like having her would help, and like she's definitely missing that relationship.
And it's also like I think there's going to be themes in there of my sister was a hero that could never be me, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it could, it really could.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it could really, and the thing is, that's the thing in life too. Not to get too deep here, but it's all about moving forward. We've
Hmm.
all done things in our past we're not proud of, And I really think that if you can't find I mean, a little bit of a dramatic say here, but if you can't find yourself in one of those characters in this movie, you shouldn't be in that theater. So I really think that, I really think this could be the surprise of the year. I continue saying that, and every
Hmm.
trailer makes me think I can't do. Like I said, my only issue with the whole plot of this is I'm like, how are they going to do this? Like, how? I'm literally thinking, like, how? And like, there have been moments where it's like, Yelena in those trailers says, we can't do this. And I'm like, I know you can't do this. You really can't. I feel like we need several pieces of backup here for this. But that makes me think that, that scene of her walking into the void with Sentry, because I have this theory that this is a corrupted Sentry of some kind. Because Sentry isn't traditionally like a straight up villain in the Marvel comics. So I have this theory that he's corrupted in some way in the void because they keep showing him just silhouetted. And I'm like, I bet this is some sort of weird thing going on. And maybe it's one of those things where they have to go into the void, confront their inner demons and stuff to somehow save the day. Sort of like a Mr. Negative situation in the Spider-Man games, because that's essentially this way his
Hmm.
powers work. He corrupts you, but really he just brings out like hallucinations and you do like the worst thing, your worst impulses. So, sorry to scatterbrain here, but I can see that
Well,
happening.
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of different examples of people under like some kind of control or power or whatever. I mean, even in Black Widow, there was the stuff uh, that was messing with the Widow's minds too. There just in Captain America, there's the whatever the mind control thing that they had.
You want to know what seeing him all blackened and choppers falling out of the sky? You want to know what it really reminds me of, and this will be a good transition. There is a story called Silver Surfer Black, where it follows Nurin Rad through space, and it talks about him dealing with being Galactus's herald and all that stuff, and he stumbles upon the symbiote planet.
Mm.
And it's yeah, and everything kind of unfolds after that. Well, he essentially gets the pseudo power of the symbiote, where like a layer of symbiotes around his silver by the end, and he gets like
That's insane.
extra powers on it. Right, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, dude, there's stories in the back burner here that like I don't think people realize they go to some wild places when it comes to comic book writing, man. Some of them get really
Venom and the Silver Surfer, nuts.
yeah, a little bit like that, but he's in complete control. So it's like one of those
Wow.
things,
Yeah.
it's really sweet. So anyway, won't go too much into that, a little bit spoilerish, but and the ending is unbelievably good. But yeah, Silver Surfer Black, it's a great graphic novel. That being said, we also got the trailer, not a teaser, for Fantastic Four First Steps. And I feel like I have to own up to something that happened this week as well. I was not happy with Silver Surfer when I first saw the trailer. I didn't realize it was a different character entirely.
Mhm.
If you don't know, it is a gender swapped
I
Silver
you and
Surfer.
most of the internet.
Yeah, it's clear to me. And when it was told to me, no, it's actually Shia LaBeouf, a different character from a different universe where someone else becomes a different Silver Surfer. I was like, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I apologize. I own up. I was like, and it was mainly because I don't want to sound misogynistic or anything like that. It was because Norrin Rad is like, to me, you're fundamentally changing the character to someone
Mhm.
else entirely, is what really I was upset about. I'm like, yeah, but Norrin Rad's a really important character in Marvel Comics. Surely that's going to be the 616 Silver Surfer at some point if they do that. I'm sure that's what's going to happen here because it's been established that the Fantastic Four is going to take place in a different universe. Um, what'd you think of the trailer? I'll let you. Sorry.
I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw a lot of information about that different universe. I mean, it's like a futuristic 60s thing.
It's like nothing they've ever done before.
And
Marvel
so
Studios,
yeah,
honestly.
I mean,
I mean, it
it's
looks
kind of
really interesting.
it's going to be super weird with like knowing it's a different universe. And so things are just going to be different there. And so that's
Everything from
just
the
curious.
music to the aesthetic just looks different. You know what I mean? It gives me a little
Mhm.
bit of the vibes of when Doctor Strange is spending the extended period of time in that universe where they have the Illuminati, and it just feels like not eerie per se, but just feels a little bit like you have this sense of wonder of like, there's this whole other MCU over here where everything went a little differently, you know? And they had
Hmm.
the defeat, and Strange had to defeat Thanos with the Darkhold and all this stuff. And I'm like, so like, what? I'm literally sitting there like, I know we know about, you know, the whole Doctor Doom, which I'm assuming is going to either have a cameo or a post credit scene in this some way somehow. Who else could we see? I really think the
Hmm.
cameos could go nuts in this one. Like who
I
else could
think
we see?
so
You get what I
too.
mean?
Yeah.
Who else could we see in this alternate MCU just walk into room and it's like, oh, like,
I
you know?
I believe we'll see some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely for sure.
Like maybe Coulson walks in or
Hmm.
Fury or some, you know what I mean? Like just what does this look like? There's a sense of like, wow, like something's a little off. Like this is definitely not our universe.
That would be crazy if
Right?
Coulson's just like somebody that you just random cameo. You're like, what?
They pull the rug out of all of us and they pull that all of Agents of Shield actually happened in this universe. I know people who would storm out of the theater if they did that. They'd be like, "Are you kidding?" They would tear the ticket up, scream, and walk out of the theater.
Oh
Like,
my.
I'm waiting for you guys to canonize all this stuff for literally like the last decade and a half, and this is how you do it.
They say it's officially a part of this universe, and then that universe blows up at the
So anyway,
end.
kidding aside, I've been wondering that. I'm like, so we're definitely seeing other variants of other people, right? If they're the only heroes, like I don't
There
know,
have to be. I'm sure there has to be.
because I'm
Yeah.
not convinced that the Tony Stark, quote unquote, of this universe is going to be the Doctor Doom and Doomsday. I'm not convinced of that. I'm convinced it could be some Mega Doom in some other terrible universe where he's like
Yeah.
already won and he's like, oh, let's do more. You know what I mean?
That's a good point, in that it could be a bit of a it could be a bit of a Kang situation, to where like you encounter him, but then there's like other versions that you see later that are more relevant.
And I don't want to. I really, really. Here's the thing. My mind went rampant thinking about, okay, what does the worst version of Kang look like? The worst version of Doctor Doom scares me way more. Trust me. When I think of Marvel and just my knowledge of comics, I think, oh man, like that actually is a terrifying thought because, and I'm not convinced that's going to be Robert Downey Jr. Doom, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But if Reed Richards is the smartest guy in a good direction in this universe, makes a little bit of sense that we could see a darker version of us Tony Stark that went a different direction. So, and
Yeah.
plus the man, we saw the man make essentially an army of Doombots without even trying, by trying to do good in our universe. So
Yeah.
that almost happened, and he did that completely by accident. So keep your eyes open. It looks very good. Galactus, they show him at the end. I have one theory about this movie that I will leave here. You see Reed at the end say, "We will protect you," you know, because they reveal that, you know, him and Sue Storm are expecting and everything, which I think is definitely going to have something to do with the plot and everything. I'm not convinced that they're going to beat Galactus, and I think it's going to be the catalyst for how they end up in 616. I think I
I'm there with you, because it only makes sense that they somehow end up, that like somehow they lose their world. And because that's a pretty big storyline, and catalyst and motivating factor in the multiverse
Mhm.
stories, is like your universe died, and so you're going to protect other ones.
Right. And it would be an insanely like dark direction to take what looks like a bright and colorful movie, but I'm also sitting here thinking to myself, if I'm Kevin Feige, it makes sense so that they would come to 616 and be
I
like, "Oh, we've seen this before. We cannot let this happen again."
with this
You know?
multiverse stuff, and with the doomsday stuff, and I you have to show somebody losing. Like, you have to
You have
show
to.
the actual ramifications at some point,
You have to.
because doomsday is not going to mean anything unless we've seen what happens and what can happen and
We need to see
what.
what we've saw Thanos, and it's been a while since we've seen a mega threat. You need to see. We need to see as an audience what worse looks like. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, and what the threat is. You need to scale it up, and we're talking universe ending here. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, or I'm literally sitting here thinking to myself, or maybe they do something like they defeat Galactus, but also they can't go back to their world or something like that. I'm like, honestly, in my head, I like the idea that they might lose this in some way
Hmm.
more. And
Yeah.
let's be real, the movie's called Fantastic Four First Steps, you know? So it's gonna be interesting. I can tell you what though, it really looks and feels like nothing Marvel's ever done before. And I'm really, really excited and happy because I mean, like, Lord bless him, Stan Lee loved the Fantastic Four, loved
Hmm.
them. They were him. Those four and Spider Man were his. He said this his five favorite creations, and a lot of the staples of the MCU now were Jack Kirby creations. Shout out King Jack Kirby as well. But actual creations of Stan were the Fantastic Four and Spider Man. So it looks like the first family's finally going to get their due.
And I think part of it being so different is going to make it a little bit more palatable because it's not it's a very different vibe from the the Fox the first Fox one and then also the Fan Four Stick. But
Fan Four
um
stick man.
it because I mean I don't it doesn't look like there's origin in here. Like it looks like you start the movie and they're famous
Yeah, well,
superheroes.
and when literally, you can show us their in a backstory. They were the four
Yeah.
astronauts chosen for this thing. They got superpowers. You don't like literally. That's all the setup I need. I don't need like I know how they got powers. Like,
Yeah.
show me what's going on. Like, what are we dealing with? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm excited, man. I'm really, really excited, and I'm excited that we got to actually see more of how the plot's gonna go. I'm like, I feel like I need to see more to really, and I've seen it now, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm in the theater. I'm in. I might be first night. We'll see. And it's after Superman.
Yeah.
Sorry, my headphones
No,
disconnected here. There we go. We're back.
yeah, there you go.
All right. What's the last thing you were talking about? You said before we dive
Uh,
into Daredevil, there's like one more thing.
so last night, in Tokyo,
Hmm.
there was Star Wars Celebration, of which there was an announcement regarding a Sean Levy movie project that
Oh
is now
yeah.
titled Starfighter, and it comes out May 2027, I think is what that is. And it is featuring Ryan Gosling. And so that I it's written by somebody that Sean Levy's worked with before, most recently on the Adam Project, that movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Um, and so, uh, really curious. I mean, it supposedly it takes place after Rise of Skywalker, completely unrelated storyline, like standalone sort of thing, just about Ryan Gosling's character.
Are they just gonna do Flash Gordon but Star Wars?
I it definitely feels like he's gonna be sort of like it. He came in. He showed up on stage. Um, the like wearing. I can't remember. But he came up on stage. And it definitely feels like he's sort of going to be playing some kind of Han Solo archetype. You
Cool.
know, Starfighter definitely. You know, it alludes to some kind of pilot.
Yeah.
So it could be maybe spiritually kind of what Solo should have been, probably.
Yeah, well,
But
and I'd rather you just do original stories. Like I've sat on the show before and said that Solo was plain awful. It was to me because it was a boring movie because it was
mhm.
literally just a checklist of all of the stuff for Han Solo, and I'm like, we really didn't need a movie for this. I don't need a movie that gives me every single piece of his backstory, and I really left the theater. I didn't leave to see the theater. I saw it after the fact. I shut off the film and I remember thinking to myself, who was that for? Who was that for? Because I was like, I don't know who, and it bombed, obviously. So I thought I'd much rather see something like this, where it's an original story, it's an original character. And honestly, I've been saying, like, can we just get like a Top Gun type story, but in Star Wars with the X Wing fighters? Like, can we just get something like that? So if it's something like that, yeah, go crazy with it, you know? I mean, to me, it just seems like a no brainer, but are you reading up more stuff or what do you,
Yeah. I'm just trying to see. Okay, interesting. Okay,
what'd you find out?
yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of here. I just want to make sure I got that right with the.
I can somewhat see the reflection off
Yes.
of your
Okay. Okay.
glasses.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I just want to make sure. So they also officially announced Mandalorian and Grogu comes out May 22nd, 2026.
The
So
Adventures of Mando and Baby Yoda. That's what I'm
yep.
calling that movie.
So there's also some other
There's
stuff in the
also a
works too,
Star
but that
Wars
was
horror project in the works, which I was like,
yes,
well, that's it.
yes.
Well, I'm like, well, that sounds cool because what it makes me think is the like undead troopers in Ahsoka makes me think, you could take that like further. I was like, this is actually pretty scary. What if you shot the troopers and they just couldn't go down? Like this would be really scary. And yay, there you go, barking up that tree. So you are essentially my beacon to Lucasfilm. So I saw today, shout out. I think today was like the 20 or I think it was 20 years. It marked 20 years since the creation of Lucas Animation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Today, as in Friday. Today. It's like 20 years to the day that the company was like founded. They founded the animation wing or whatever. Which is like crazy when you think of the amount of projects they've pumped out and
Wait, what?
what? What?
I totally didn't even realize it, but apparently uh Jeremy Allen White
Mhm.
from Shameless and The Bear
Okay.
he's playing Jabba the Hutt's son. I didn't even
Oh
know.
yeah, you know what? I saw like a side by side of him and that character, and I thought, why'd they go and make Jabba's son look like his face? Like there's a little bit of like some resemblance there. If you go look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm like, why did they purposely animate him? It's like how the fish for it's like how the fish from Shark Tale looks like Will Smith. I'm like, what did they they made him look kind of like him, you know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Oh
That's a
wow.
wild pull. Sorry. I didn't expect to say that on this cast today. But yeah, 20 years of Lucas animation. I knew that would mean something to you, as I'm not really a fan of the animated shows myself. No hate, just didn't get into them. They were kind of past my time as a kid, but they made several of the greatest series of all time. People love Bad Batch. People love Clone
Yep.
Wars, and let's be real, a lot of the projects out of that division have been killing it since Disney's taken over. So,
Yeah, I mean the original Clone Wars show was really good.
and then they brought it to an end, and obviously you liked Rebels. So,
Hmm.
is it time to headlong into Daredevil?
Yes, let's get into that because that we'll
Let's
have
let's
lots to discuss.
we'll have a lot to say, and we will finish things up here on the show talking about Daredevil Born Again. The finale, unbelievable. It was entitled Straight to Hell. I'll be real, man. It was kind of everything I wanted in the finale. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Mhm.
It was kind of everything I wanted. Like, Casen just flipped his hat backwards, so things just got serious. Um, Ash Ketchum over here. Not gonna ramble too much. What was your immediate reaction to the episode? Where would you like to dive in? We don't have to go scene by scene. We usually don't. But what you got?
Yeah, well, I'll start with saying we were all right about Heather.
You
She's
were right.
terrible, terrible girlfriend.
Okay. You were right about her, and that's an interesting place to start because I actually said to someone today that I completely understand from her point of view, like why she would want to join and is against vigilantes because she would see them as a front and as a way of escapism with mental health. She also was like straight up like the catalyst for Muse, you know?
Yeah, well,
Like that makes
I
perfect sense to me that she
right,
wouldn't want to
right.
have anything to do with the vigilantes.
Right. But also not even that her agreeing to be in the administration or whatever, but the
The hospital
the
scene.
the hospital scene when it's
Yeah.
like clear that she's like annoyed with him
Yeah.
or that like it's just like what? Like you had this really awkward day all day. You didn't really get along. Then he gets shot and you're like mad that he got shot.
Well,
Yeah.
and he immediately is starting to talk about like his friend who died in a way that's
Yeah.
like I might have found something out, who they've undoubtedly had conversations about probably at some point over the, because they established they were dating for like, the better part of a year. And I'm thinking to myself, you have no questions to follow up even in his rambling what he might. That's what annoyed her and what also annoyed me. I'm like, okay, so she's just out on him, I guess. And she kind of fed off Kirsten, I think is her name, her reaction to Matt as well. It's like, Matt,
Hmm.
you're talking hysterical, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but like, are none of you gonna, for a second, you know how good this guy is, right? As a lawyer, you know how good he is, and you know that he's not a normal guy. Like, he's probably dead on here, folks. Like, the amount of people that don't like believe that like the Fisks are bad is like annoying in this show. It's like, did we all miss the first three seasons? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like does any like aside from the fact that it's like he
Yeah,
somehow got elected, like he's a criminal and everybody knows that.
yeah.
What
No, he's turned
like
over a new leaf. It's like, yeah, let's just make that
well,
guy mayor.
it's the fact that like at the beginning of the show, it was some people didn't care and they were like, yeah, whatever, we don't care. But now it's like even though he's been mayor, they like forget. And
Yeah,
like they forget that everybody agreed that he was.
yeah.
It's just some people didn't care.
Well,
But it's
and
like now that he's been mayor, it's just like oh, it doesn't matter anymore.
oh, he's fine. Yeah,
We
it's
just
all good.
forget.
I'm like, well, and like that, skipping ahead a little bit, but that's why that line by the commissioner at the very end where he says, "This is the point, huh? You never stopped being kingpin, did you?" And like between the ears, we know no, he didn't. We know how evil this guy is. We know how he operates. We also know how smart he is, quite frankly.
Hmm.
And like there's a reason he's a supervillain, but he's one without kind of without superpowers. I mean, he can fight really well, but and he's huge. But yeah, going back, that's been an overarching thing that I can look past for this show. You know what I mean? Listen, a whole bunch of stuff's happened. People got snapped away. It's the universe, which is an objectively terrible universe to live in. The Marvel universe. I mean,
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
reality is stranger than fiction, but I don't know. This is a fictional universe that I know for a fact I would never want to live in. Look at this. Like, are you kidding me? Or I'd be looking around, and be like, why can't I get some superpowers? Look at all these people. Like, could I have at least been born a mutant or something? Actually, I don't want that either. That's also bad. So, so anyway, moving on though, obviously we get several like just brutal scenes in that whole show, things we literally can't even really talk about on here. We see Punisher just go full Punisher, Matt goes full Daredevil, but also can we talk about how they murked his entire apartment at the end of that whole
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, yeah.
Like, he said grenade, oh snap, but then it just all blew up. I'm like, oh, so
I
everyone's just done on that
I
floor
would
now.
again going back to Heather for a second.
Yeah.
Does she think he's dead and just not care? Like
Well,
I'm
that's
confused.
the other
Like
thing
his
I thought to
apartment blew up and
myself.
she's like not even.
Time out a second. Does she or does she not live there? Like, I literally he walks in there. I'm like, is Heather just asleep in the other room here, or like what? Does
I
she
think
not?
it. I think it was like
It's implied that she's not there.
it's well. I think what my impression was that she frequently stays there.
Yeah,
But
that she
yeah,
doesn't live there,
yeah,
but she frequently stays there, and it's like one of those things. So, in that situation, it would make sense. Like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to my place. Kind of let Matt. Matt's in the hospital anyway, so I'm not going to go to
yeah,
his place. So that actually makes sense. Matt goes to his place. Frank's right there in full Punisher mode. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's not Frank Castle right there. That's the Punisher. And I just that scene where he's like literally says, just so yeah, there's a van of goons down there. You clocked that, right? Like, yeah, I got him. If they come up here, I'm chopping them up. I was like, yes, you will, sir. I don't for a second think you wouldn't, and he didn't. He wasn't mincing words. There were a couple moments in this episode where I was like, coming up next on Disney Plus. I was like, wow. Like, I was like, you got to gatekeep this show, folks, which you would anyway. I mean, it's easy to do that on Disney Plus, but wow, like, they weren't kidding. They let them do everything. They really let them just go violent. But I will still say
yeah,
that as cool as the action sequences were, that's not what keeps me coming back. It's the character moments. It's the dialogue. This show is extremely well written.
I so obviously, Karen shows up. That's great to see.
Yes.
That moment when they're in Frank's apartment or wherever he lives, and she's like, like I know you care. And then
Yeah.
he's like, get out. And then after they leave, he's like, be safe or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of like really cool things to where you see the way that those characters interact with each other.
Not only that, but like as wild as Frank is, he does care about Matt, and
Yeah.
Matt cares
Yeah.
about him. And I actually, someone said this to me. I think Matt always knew where he was. I'm with that theory. I think Matt knew where he was at all times because he goes in real slowly to that spot. It's not like he's really searching. He went in slowly because he knows Frank's going to react. But I think he's known where Frank Castle is this whole time, just because he's
Hmm.
Matt Murdock. I mean, heck, he can smell him. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think because that makes me think, okay, let's keep tabs on where he is, just so I am aware of where Frank is if something ever goes down. Um, the scene that really got me was when Karen and Matt are up on the hill. They're showing what's happening at the docks, the Red Hook area.
Hmm.
And, they kind of find out what's up. It's about the police state. Everything that comes through here would be untrackable, which someone pointed out all ports everywhere are like federally regulated, which could just be another flip in history where in the MCU that just didn't happen. You know what I mean? They decided to just make it so that certain ports are not they're free ports, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, that's an interesting piece of like change that I can believe in the comic book universe. But I can see like, yeah, that would make it a police state. Like legitimately, that would make it like the Fisk police state, and they could just move in and out and whatever, and anything. It's just at that place. Matt was about to do what Matt does and just go straight down there and take them all down. And I have a funny thing to say before I get to the serious thing. Weren't there like 40 guys in that room when Fisk was first giving his speech? I'm like, how did we get like a full on like hundreds of people, full on army overnight? You're telling me this many people are totally down? And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe he put the like his guys in charge and the rest of the police force just kind of has to follow it because he's in charge of the police now.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
don't know.
kind of got
Probably.
that. I was like, yeah, if that's a small army. If you turn every police officer in the city of New York into an army, then yeah, you know, makes me think of the charge sequence in Dark Knight Rises. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the scene. What is it? What is a supervillain if not someone with incredible human resources? Right. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah. Most of Batman's rogues gallery. But anyway, sorry, I'm talking around it. I like when Karen says, "Do you remember what you told me when?" And this wasn't in the show; it was just a conversation they had. Do you remember when you told me when I asked you what it's like with the darkness, like or when it's dark or whatever? And he says, "It's not dark. It's like 1,000 suns." That is how Matt Murdock sees the world. Like you said, it's like sonar, but they've done it in comics before of like how he
Hmm.
sees everything, and it helps him in fighting and everything else too. And I just liked that because it's sort of like Karen in that one moment, they're all feeling helpless. And even in that one moment, it's a positive memory. You know what I mean? And I thought, this is why I'm happy Karen's back. I'm really happy about this. And he turns to her and he says, "We need an army." I was I I went straight to the book and pulled it out, man. I found that panel, but I found it online too, of just the squad, which is only one squadron of who they had help us. You know what I mean? This is like Avengers level threat, that image he's got. You got Daredevil, Echo. I'm like, seriously, let's just make some phone calls. Let's make some calls. Everyone has a beef with this guy. Where's Kate
Hmm.
Bishop? Where's the Punisher? Where's get Star Lord? He's on Earth. Like, call everybody. We like, Spider Man. He's around there somewhere. Moon Knight. Just Luke Cage is around. Jessica Jones. All this stuff. I'm just like, yeah. Send them in there. I'm like, I don't know. Give me just Spider Man, and
Iron
him and Matt
Fist.
could probably go
Iron
down and take
Fist.
them all down. Oh yeah, Iron Fist too. I was yeah. My bad. My bad.
It would objectively be hilarious if Iron Fist just shows up in season two
I'd be
because
kind of I'd be kind of mad. I'm not even gonna lie. I'd be kind
the
of
guys
really
the guys
upset.
are like I want to reprise my role, and they're like,
Hey, it did really well. I want
hard
to
pass, hard
reprise
pass.
my role. Well, guess what? We are recasting you. Hey, that's awesome. We're recasting you because yours was considered the weakest of all of the Netflix shows, which it was. It was. Um, I will say, I don't.
Yeah, it's
We
gonna be crazy when
we
Tom
are
Holland shows up in season 2, though.
well, and it could happen. I don't know if necessarily that happens, but let me just make it clear. I don't know how long this goes for either. We are officially in Devil's Reign now.
Yeah.
100% mark it, book it, police state New York, vigilantes outlawed, all activity New York, which makes me think I don't know how they're going to write around that in Thunderbolts. If that's New York they're showing with the Void
I
stuff.
well, I don't know if like it happens at the same time. I mean, are we to assume that it does?
Mm.
Because I mean, like theoretically, they could all be happening at different times.
Well,
Like,
Daredevil Born Again this season happens over the course of the year, right? Because
yeah,
seen in the beginning, a very beginning show, it's Matt and him sitting. That was before the election. The election would have been in November. The holidays pass, we assume. They then get to St. Patrick's Day. There's literally a St. Patrick's Day episode.
yeah.
And then we're assuming it's probably around now, like
Well,
April-ish or
well,
May in the
for what it's
universe.
worth, I
Yeah.
know that I know New York mayoral elections don't happen in November. I
Oh,
don't. I think they're in the summer.
okay. Well, that wouldn't make any sense either. That means a whole year again has passed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So
would.
I,
It would. Yeah. I think it is implied that it's been probably 2 years. Like it. Well, I don't know because so there's a year between like the opening when Foggy gets killed and then the beginning, like the beginning of episode 1, then
right.
of like this. So that's a year,
And then we get
and
a
then the
year in the
election.
show, and that's
Yeah.
why it was actually New Rockstars that pointed out when they show 1 year ago, we're assuming it's 1 year ago from the beginning of the show, right? Because it's really 2 years ago at the time that
Yeah.
Vanessa's visiting Poindexter and pulling the pills and all that
Yeah.
stuff and puts them because I'm like I kind of forgave the show for that. I'm like, you mean 1 year ago from the beginning of the show? Got it. Like when the Foggy stuff happened, I get it. That kind of stuff I forgive. But yeah, so that's the other thing. So where I'm going with this is I assume we are getting some sort of like straight up this kind of what I've wanted for this whole time. No one knows where Matt Murdock is. Well, that's because he's going to be Daredevil full time now. He's going to be Daredevil full time going out of Josie's with the resistance that's left. You got Sherry in there at the end. You see a few good cops, the bartender, Karen's in there. I think we're going to start building the army, and I do think we are going to get some cameos in the next season. Personally, I don't know who, but I can definitely see some cameos. And I'm telling you right now, I think we could see a cameo of Spider-Man before his movie comes out next year.
Okay. Okay. I guess take that back. I don't know. The mayoral elections are in November.
Okay, so there you go.
I think the primary is something November and like
That
June.
makes sense, Summer.
Um,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Did you
yeah.
hear what I said?
So
Did you hear what I said?
no, sorry. Please repeat yourself.
I think we're going to get a cameo of Spider-Man before his movie comes
Oh,
out
yeah,
next year
100%,
in that show.
100%.
I think we could definitely
Can
people have
can
thrown
he
that
be in this
around.
though?
What?
Like, could he be in like legally? Could
Yeah.
he be in this? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he could be in this.
Okay.
People have talked about that. Like, if Sony signs off on it, yeah, but it's not like a rights thing for TV. He can be in this because what
Well, I
people
mean, more or less, I'm saying like, would they should? I mean, they would get beaten up if they wouldn't. If it's like
it,
we wanted Spider-Man in this, but Sony said no. Like
this has gotten to a point where if there are not cameos in the next season, this is not making any sense to me. Like there
yeah,
needs to. I'm sorry. There are many heroes in New York. There's Kamala Khan. There's two Hawkeyes afoot. There's which we don't even really know where they are because they're with Clint at the end.
that's a
But,
very
like,
good point.
there's
Of like we're dealing with Kingpin. And we have basically Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel just waiting in the wings,
there are
ready to
six.
blow him to
There are like
smithereens.
6 to 7. Not to mention you see Jack in this, who's the swordsman. There are like 6 to 7 people in New York right now who all have beef with Fisk, and you're telling them none of them are going to encounter Daredevil at all. Like,
Yeah.
heck, Daredevil shows up as a spoiler alert here, but Daredevil shows up as a cameo in the new Spider-Man animated show. And it's pretty cool because they like play his theme and stuff. And I mean, it's like one scene. It's like one scene. But I'm like, okay, so again, you are establishing that Daredevil's a thing in this universe and he's doing stuff in New York. He's in Hell's Kitchen, all that stuff. But you get what I mean? Like, this has gotten to the point now where it's like at least a street level Avengers level threat. We need more heroes. Like, legitimately, what's Moon Knight up to? Like there's, I don't know. Just if they do not do that in the second season, I'm going to be sitting here saying, what are we doing? Like, this is wasted potential here. But I think we will. I think we will get. I think we'll get cameos.
Now, now let me ask you for a very important prediction or theory question
Sure.
that I think we've talked about
Is Foggy
before.
coming back?
Is Foggy coming back?
I think he could be. Yes. I'm
Now,
now.
I think it's going to be very awkward if he comes back and
If he
Matt and Karen.
Well, right. And my thing about it is if he comes back, I don't want it to undo the arc that Matt went on in this season. Which I don't think it
Mhm.
would. And even at this point it'd be like elated, but Foggy's death put him on this path that led him to just coming back to Daredevil, and it's like we have officially, and it's another thing now to where we have officially lost the plot or ability to do anything legally here. We got to just straight up be Daredevil. Like,
Mhm.
this is not going to go down in any way that doesn't involve people without super. You know what I mean? We got to do this off the record, under the table, off the book. We got to do some superheroing, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we hadn't gotten to that point, when that man sat down and declared martial law, I would have been like, all right, going underground. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on the other side of this. So yeah, I just think, and that's what happens in Devil's Reign. Matt's just like off the book. No one knows where Matt Murdock is. I'm like, yeah, it's because he's Daredevil. Last week, Casen, you had one of my favorite quotes. He's Daredevil. Shut up. And that's kind of been my mantra this whole season. I'm like, shut up. He's Daredevil. Let him cook. Let him do his thing.
No, yeah, I mean, I will say too is the really interesting thing that we see a lot in this episode is a lot of the sort of back and forth, maybe anxiousness of the people working for Fisk in the mayor's office. Um, because the conversation that one aide who's always been kind of iffy of him has
Sheila.
with
Yeah.
the commissioner, and then she turns around and gives the recording of the conversation with the commissioner to him.
Realizing that what she has done has probably doomed this man in some
Yeah,
capacity. But even he says he's resigned. And I'm thinking, yeah, she doesn't need to know stuff. I'm still with you on the Danny character, Daniel. I'm still with you. I think he could flip on Fisk in the second season. And when they're showing everybody where they're at during Matt's speech, thinking to myself, all these people are going to be playing a role because,
I
yeah,
have a feel like to me the way I would do this would be to have he really has a soft spot for BB, and I think she's going to play a part in exposing something and making him realize because he's only in this for for fame and for his career, whatever. And he thinks that Fisk is the way to do that. But once he realizes that, like, oh, this guy's probably going to prison or he's gonna die and like be exposed to, I mean, like
he
what once,
also he has not seen he hasn't seen things like that moment with the commissioner, like some people have. And
yeah,
Fisk is
yeah, like do
very
we,
strategic about
yeah.
who he lets in what stuff. He'll like
I
that stuff of
going
like
to that
everyone else
scene,
leave,
yeah,
everyone else leave. Hey Buck, I got something for you to do, and you realize, oh, Buck's just straight up like an assassin. Got it. Like you thought that guy was just a regular Mariel aide at the beginning of the season. Oh no, he's just straight up. He's the guy for Fisk. He's the fixer. Okay, got it. Like, don't mess with him.
yeah. I do think though, so going to the scene with the commissioner that we probably can't even discuss on
We
the
can't
show.
we can't really discuss it.
Um,
No.
wild visual to see. But I was a little surprised at the amount of people he did that in front of
Yeah, I was a
because
little.
like there's a lot of random cops that you think any one of them could just be like, we just saw the mayor murder the commissioner of the police
Yeah,
department. Like
yeah.
what?
Like it's like, hey, this is like there's like, bro, there's like 15 people here.
Like
I would have
that
done
is a
this in.
lot of
I would have
that is
been
a
like,
lot of loose ends.
maybe do this in front of like, I don't know, 3 guys with automatic weapons, so there's nothing he can do. I mean, I know you're sending a message, but I'm still just like, again, I keep having this thing of Kingpin is gonna slip up. He's gonna slip up. Something's gonna happen. And the other part that got me where I was like, wow, this is a different level when everyone is just in cages at the end.
Because like
I'm like,
to
wow,
me,
he's just
just me theorizing. I mean, yeah, we'll get to that.
yeah,
To
yeah, yeah.
me, the huge like thing in season two could be him doing something like that scene with the commissioner in front of a bunch of people, and like BB's there recording and like catches it on camera and then throws it up on Times Square for everybody to see him do that.
Oh yeah.
Like that to me could be like the one of the like final episodes of season two of
Yeah.
like she gets this huge thing, or maybe she confronts him on like a live stream about killing her uncle, and then he
Yeah.
admits to it in front of her on the camera, like live feed to like basically kind of like a like a Far From Home thing.
Right.
Um,
I could also see there being a situation where we deal with something even a little bit more sinister where that happens and he's like, what are you guys going to do about it?
yeah,
I control this whole area. I still have to, I control everything. Like I could see like a big brother type situation to where he like triples down and it's like, yeah, I'm still untouchable.
yeah, yeah.
You know
He's
what I
like, oh,
mean?
he's like, okay, I am
And
what
it's
I
like,
am. Who's
oh,
gonna stop me? Yeah.
and that's when I'm going to be like, okay, call the Avengers then. Go.
Yeah,
Like
it's like not even the
someone go in
Avengers.
here.
Like you do realize that
Yeah.
the state of New York has a governor and
Yeah.
there's the president.
I'm like,
Like,
all right, so send in everyone, take them out of there. Like, go in, arrest them, or just send it like bust through the front door like the opening scene to Avengers: Age of Ultron, where the guy's like, all right, he's like, sir, the Avengers are raiding our stuff. It's like, well, you guys, it's like, what are you guys having any luck stopping them? And he's just like, they're the Avengers.
I mean, the mayor of New York isn't a
No,
king. Like, obviously the irony of the kingpin, but like he's not all powerful with no legal
yeah,
ramifications from
like
anyone else.
at some point, I'm going to lose my believability. I'm going to be like, okay, well then have Sam just like throw a shield through a window. Like this has got to be
Yeah.
this is have like several people just come in here and take him down. Are we kidding? Are you kidding me? He's just a
Like,
big, strong guy. Like what?
call the Thunderbolts. Like,
Yeah, send them in there. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? So they have yet to do that to me. They have yet to do something where I'm like, okay, well, like someone come in here and beat him up. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, it definitely, like, to me, it feels like, at least as of now, and I think with sort of the scale of the criminal operation getting bigger, it might change. But at least now,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like publicly no one's really aware of the crimes. Like, it's a thing that, like, the New Yorkers have an idea about, but nobody outside of New York really is fully aware. Like, it feels like it's like an open secret thing that
At the
some
risk
people
of
know.
spoilers for Daredevil, right? For Daredevil season 3, there is a satisfying scene at the end of that season when Matt just goes all the way in fighting him, and without like say Vanessa's intervention, so to speak, he probably just would have kept going. And it's like the most satisfying. It's so messed up, but I'm like, but have you seen how evil this guy is? Like, he deserves every one of these punches. Are you kidding me? Keep going. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm like, well, look, we're not gonna end the guy's life. At least beat him up to the point where, like, go like break a few limbs, do something. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so I without spoiling, because I really do think everyone should go because there's way more to it. It's way more complex than that. But I definitely think we're headed towards something like that in this. Only it could be a situation like when the Guardians all bust in at the end of I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? The Guardians
Yeah.
all like it's season 3 of the show or whatever they decide to do. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy all bust in and take down the High Evolutionary, and everyone just gets a shot. And I'm like, I could see that being the case with this. They just give us the most satisfying end ever. Honestly, man, shout out to Vince D'Onofrio. He's awesome, and he talks about it's this show's just as much about him. You know what I mean? This show's
Hmm.
and really Daredevil was too, but this show's just about it's the dichotomy of these two men and how now they're intertwined, and Man, trying to think of anything else. Again, has people in cages at the end of
Yeah,
the episode,
including Punisher.
including
At
Punisher.
least maybe not anymore.
Yeah, and that was a little bit weird. I'm like, why did they even show me him in a cage if he's just going to get out immediately? But I can also see the special spot for him beginning right there. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like how he escaped and what he did right after.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's probably gonna happen. Yeah.
Because I think he, I mean, heck, if I were him, I would just leave New York. And it's like, oh, he can't leave New York. Well, yeah, he's the Punisher. Yes, he can. He could leave if he wants to, but maybe he won't want to. We'll see. You know, it was fantastic. You want to rate up the season?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
As a reminder, bronze, silver, gold, vibranium, adamantium.
Uh, I I think I'll say vibranium for this
Okay.
one.
Okay. What's holding you back?
I mean, I'm trying to be stingy with the adamantium. I don't
That's
know.
fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's a good point. I'll be that guy and say it's adamantium for me. Just because I didn't think we were going to get a revival of any of the Netflix shows, and for them to seamlessly be able to like roll right into this to where if you're a new fan of Daredevil, you can get it. You can get it, or if you're an old fan of the shows, whatever. For me, this is adamantium. I won't throw it around either, but I had to go through the whole season of TV. There are a few nitpicks for me, but there's not a single bad episode. There's not a single, even the one that I said was a little bit filler was still a fantastic episode and was world building. And they gave us 2 episodes that week. So it's not like really you missed out on any story, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and plus it gave us like a cameo, you know? So uh, I'll give it adamantium, but I will also say that probably the best comic to hero slash villain portrayal the MCU has is Daredevil and Kingpin and all that stuff. And I really do mean, I don't say that lightly, but I mean, from page to screen, there's not an adaptation that I think they've done better. And the fact that it began with Netflix,
Yeah, yeah. I
I got to give credit to those
the
people.
fact that they were able to revive that
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the same actors, and
Basically the whole cast. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
all the ones who really matter. We didn't get to see Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson. She's a big part of the
Mm,
first 3 seasons. I thought she
yeah.
might show up. Maybe she could show up in season 2, but she's kind of busy doing other stuff. But Rosario Dawson is in those first 3 seasons of Daredevil. She's like the nurse character
Yeah,
who helps him out.
yeah. So I, yeah, I mean, I think definitely it's one of the best adaptations.
I'm quite
Yeah, I mean,
happy.
the only thing that was really holding me back was I have a little bit of issues just with sort of like some of the episodic storylines. Like the whole Muse thing really annoyed me that it was like this 3 4 episode there's like this 3 to 4 episode arc that just kind of like resolved immediately once we figured out what it felt like I don't know like it felt like it was sort of a vehicle to serve a purpose, but I don't know.
I said last week, and I will hold to it, but it doesn't diminish it too much for me. Ultimately, with where we went with it, it was the catalyst that basically brought Matt back as Daredevil. That is
Yeah.
really what it was. Like, but I also think it's important because it just goes to show that like sometimes the system is broken, and there's a way that if you think about Muse as a character, Muse was the tipping point for both men to push them a little bit further back to their
Hmm.
ways. That's kind of how I looked at that 2 episode arc. I don't like how quickly it resolved itself too. I am with you there, but it served its purpose in the sense of Matt had to go full Daredevil to go back, and Fisk had to go full Kingpin to also deal with it
Hmm.
in a way that wasn't optically Mariel friendly. You know what I mean? That was when
Yeah.
he took it the step further and said, find me the worst, the baddest apples you have, and I'm going to make a task force out of all of them. It's like both of them dealing with their issues in the way that they know how. Kingpin with or Fisk with control, and Matt with going outside the law. when they both
Mhm.
are trying so hard to stay in the law, which I don't know so much with Kingpin, but Matt really was. You know what I mean? Matt was going to call the police.
Well,
Was going to tell them, and he's like, or I could just go do it myself. So that's
I will
where I
say
give it a little bit of a pass.
I will say with Kingpin, it did they did give you the impression, at least at the beginning, right when he got elected, he was trying to he was trying to be like clean and straight and narrow, at least from like a perception standpoint
Mm-hmm.
at first.
And I think him getting his rage out with Adam being
Yeah.
imprisoned was kind of how he dealt with that. But as it went through therapy and as his wife became more and more involved in stuff, it put him back down on this path. And it's almost like he got the go ahead from his wife almost. You know, he got the switch was flipped, so to speak.
Yeah, he and Vanessa are like both the worst triggers to make the worst versions of each other. Like he makes her a terrible human being, and she makes him the worst version of himself. Like
But
like
that's like
they're
but they both interpret that as the best version of themselves.
exactly
Yeah, that's
is
why
that
it's like
like
a terrifying
the
relationship.
closer they are as a couple, the more evil they are individually,
Well,
which is crazy.
and here's the thing. Vince, I saw an interview today, which they were doing a little behind the scenes thing with the cast and everybody, and Charlie was sitting there, Vince was sitting there, and two of the writers
Hmm.
were, and they just kind of said, "Who do you think is worse, Vanessa or Wilson? In who's worse, basically, who's more evil, whatever." Someone there said they're tied, and most of the table was like they're tied. I think it was Vince actually who said Vanessa's worse because at the end of the day, Vanessa actually has power over him. And I was like, that is that's coming
Yeah.
straight from the mouth of the character. That I'm like, you're actually right because
And I definitely get that.
he'll pretty much do anything she asks. So
That is very true because she doesn't really understand the like long-term vision that he has with some things. And so she can be a bit like impulsive,
correct,
and her lack of restraint sometimes makes or pushes him to be worse.
right,
That's exactly the point. Is that yeah? Is he would do whatever she wants, and her not wanting him to stop makes her worse.
makes her worse. Like I actually
That scene
I
with
was like,
Adam,
you're right, man. I was like, he's dead
like
on.
the scene with Adam to where he gave her the opportunity and she just straight up killed him
Yeah, it was.
because
Well, it was
like
also like Wilson admitting it to her, but also saying, I don't know a path forward because I know you don't want to see him killed, and blah, blah, but I don't know what to do. We can't just let him go." It was kind of that situation, and Vanessa's like, "Well, I have to do it then." Bam, bam, bam. You know, it was like, wow, like that. Certainly a step. You know, it was. It's yeah. It was definitely. I honestly didn't know what was coming in that scene too, but that was kind of the seal of their relationship during that.
I
You know?
now my thing too is I'm really confused with like where Echo is in this whole situation because like he just
It,
became the mayor and like she's not in this
it
anywhere.
yeah, but like, isn't she still in Oklahoma?
I don't know. I mean, I
I think
guess,
I'm pretty sure she's still like on the reservation at the end of Echo.
but like you would think she would have found out he became mayor and go back to New York to stop
Eh,
him.
well, again, you're
That has to be part of season two,
again.
right? Like,
I'm just throwing it out there again. Hey, it seems like there should be more people concerned about this. It feels like there should be more
right.
characters that would want to see what's up with Matt Murdock because it's like, hey, that's a problem. We really need to do something about
I
that.
mean, also,
This
yeah,
feels
also
like more people should care.
like Kate Bishop fought him too. Like
Yeah,
she
well,
knows.
also, like, are Jack and Kate Bishop still in contact or cool because they seemed cool at the end of they seemed cool at the end of Hawkeye,
It's
and it's like Jack's like just straight up missing now. It's like,
well,
where
yeah,
are these people?
it's like he's just all over this, talking to him, and she's nowhere to be seen.
What I need,
It's a lot of the like
what
simple
I
thing
need
with
is I need a few film schedules to line up here. Okay, give me like 5 minutes. We just need one scene to just make me think as a fan. Can more people be concerned about this, please? Can Matt not feel so
yeah,
alone?
yeah.
Like, I
You
have to
have
do this. I have
to
to do
like
this by myself. I'm like, listen, Matt, the writers are doing you dirty because you shouldn't have to do most of this by yourself. You shouldn't.
Matt, sorry, you have to do this by yourself because Haley Steinfeld's getting married and
Yeah.
we can't
We don't know where Chris Pratt even is. He's off doing
yeah.
Netflix movies. We've got
Nobody's film schedule
to be
allows for you
fair,
to have anybody.
Jeremy Renner is off doing his own thing. Tom Holland is literally like in the Odyssey right now. We don't know. He's in Greek mythology. We don't know. So is John Barenthal, by the way. He's also in that movie. So I don't know. You're telling me John Barenthal was busy and Tom Holland, the star of
Yeah,
Odyssey,
no,
wasn't?
I get it. I mean, like it's kind of the same thing
That's
as
awesome.
it's the same thing with like Captain Marvel in Infinity War
Yeah,
and
where's
Endgame,
she at?
where you had to just kind of like you have to just kind of disassociate from reality and just allow the story to happen
Yeah, well, and
because it's like
I'm also sitting here like tonally, there's no way that Kamala Khan can be in this, right? Tonally, because she's all fangirling, blowing her mind. And
it was
can you
already
imagine?
hard enough for her dad to be in it because he
Yeah.
was
Can
already
can you
a little
imagine?
too much
Can
comedy
you
for
imagine
this.
if she saw what we saw with the police commissioner? I can't. It's like, yeah, these are really evil people. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
need you to grow up a few years, like right now. Like, this is really evil stuff, you know?
Also, I
So,
need to see something real quick because
mm-hmm,
I want to just double check
sure.
real quick. Bear with me.
Yep.
Uh,
Not too awkward of a pause here.
there was just one thing about one of the episodes that I'm trying to just verify. Okay, so my question is in that episode. Okay. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I will be upset if Echo at least doesn't show up at the beginning of season two. Like I've heard what he's been doing. I gotta stop him. Like she would have to be like on the top of the list to come back because it's like you just fought him. Like and you just let him become mayor.
Yeah. Well, and again, is it just going to be more of this dichotomy of people want to end his life, and is Matt going to let that happen? No, obviously, because it wouldn't be a show otherwise. But um, I've said everything I have to say about it. It was fantastic. I loved it. Uh, Hats off to the performances. And honestly, when you consider that they scrapped everything they had essentially and restarted the season from scratch, and everyone was basically on board with that because Vince and Charlie and everyone would be
Mhm.
like, it'll be a better show if we just do it this way. I cannot commend those guys enough, and it's really really important when you got actors who love being the characters and care about the characters. Also, it's just kind of weird when you see set photos of everyone just being cool with each other.
It
Like,
is
like that picture of like that picture
yeah.
from the gala where like Vince is in front of everybody and everyone's just like,
It's I mean, no, knowing Vince, like it's so weird
yeah,
knowing that he's like the coolest guy and
oh
super
yeah.
nice. Like it's so like it's so hard.
I'd be like, dude, if you shaved your head, I'd actually be like terrified of you because I just feel like you would just slip into it. It's like, I love New York. It's like just slips right into it. It's like, oh snap! Like he's gonna be like, sorry, sir, whatever you say, I'm good. But exactly, yeah. I mean, he loves being a character. And he's a great actor.
I don't
Again,
know.
he's
Like
a great follow on social media too. If you don't, he's a fantastic follow.
it's also like crazy to me. I don't know why. Like I always want to just assume that he was in like The Sopranos, but like he wasn't. But like he's one of those guys that you just would think would have been, but
Yeah,
he wasn't.
he's so good.
I don't know.
He's so good at portraying a villain that it's like, has he portrayed any other villains in his career? I mean, because to my knowledge, he really hadn't. You know, and I remember when I heard that he was. I remember when the first set photo I saw of him, he was going to be Wilson Fisk, and I thought, looks like it. I didn't know what kind of Wilson Fisk he was going to be though, because there are some portrayals of him in the comics where he's kind of cartoonish, and they did such a good job in the original Daredevil. I'm like, oh no, he's just terrifying. Got it. He's just will do anything. No one is safe on screen, and I always feel that way with him. So Any final thoughts, Kasen?
He did play an alien in Men in Black too. That
Okay,
was
but that oh
yeah
yeah, he does play the yeah, I think he plays the cockroach man guy.
yeah.
Or the guy he's the
But
humanoid version of him.
yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Okay, so I sit corrected. Okay. But again, any final thoughts on anything here as we say so long to Daredevil Born Again until literally next year when we're
Yeah,
back here
yeah.
again talking about it?
I'm just intrigued to see where they go from here. I mean, I'm hoping for a lot of cameos, a lot of surprises. Because yeah, I mean, like we talked about last week, I think. It was, definitely gearing up that it would be like this season ends on a low point to then have season two be the resolution of that.
And also,
Um,
and it does feel like two halves of a story.
yeah,
The writer and director said if in that same conversation I can send it to you too. If this season is the Greek tragedy, next season is the French Revolution. I'm like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds dope. I'm like, that sounds really cool. That just really could be awesome. And like I said, their adaptation of Born Again was season 3, and I'm just really happy they get like a full 2 seasons to really flesh out Devil's Reign, like how we got here and where we go from here. They
Hmm.
also didn't do anything in this season I didn't want them to. They didn't do a thing where he's not mayor by the end. They didn't do. I mean, he's Wilson Fisk, but he's not mayor. You know what I mean? He's still mayor of New York. Like there are too many interesting things going on here that I'm like, don't just try to don't wrap them up in one season. It's clear to me they weren't going to do that, but part of me feels that way about season 2. I'm like, if you want to do a season 3, like maybe still have this going on through the next phase.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I even heard someone toss around maybe New York is just going to be part of the battlegrounds in like Secret Wars or something. I'm like, I could see that too, because New York's about to just descend into chaos. So also, so yeah, that's all I got. I'm back for more. If I'm on board, basically, is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Thank you everyone so much for listening as you do every week or watching, however you consume. Case and I always enjoy talking about these things with you. Um, and
Same here, man.
and I always save some of my thoughts, but I also at the same time don't always know how I'm going to convey it
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
show. You
yeah.
know what I mean? So that being said, this is Kellan,
And this is Casen.
and we'll see you as always at the next stop.